All right. I want to welcome everybody to today's session of the House Civil Justice Full Committee. It's Wednesday, February 22nd. Madam Clerk, if you go ahead and take the roll.
Representatives Beck, Bricken, Bolso, Capley, Eldridge, Gant, Garrett, Grills, Harris, Lamberth, Littleton, Parkinson, Powell, Russell, Stevens, Todd, Vice Chairman Jernigan, Chairman Farmer. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, members, without objection. Let's start on today's regular calendar. If we could move with House Bill 808 by Chairman Howe. Got a motion and a second, sir, and you're properly recognized. And I don't see any amendments moving with this bill.
That's correct.
Okay, very good.
Thank you,
You're
Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be in your committee. Last year, you may recall, I passed a bill that addressed the issue of the illegal immigrant teens who were being bused into Chattanooga by the federal government. And we had some ad hoc committee meetings that I co-chaired. And as a result of that, we ended up with another category in childcare called non-traditional childcare agencies. According to DCS, the definition of the non-traditional agencies needs a little more clarity, so that's what this bill does. It's just a cleanup bill so that the regulations for non-traditional agencies is not applied to the traditional agencies, such as Bethany Christian Services, which has been around for decades, do a great job, and they do not house foster kids or children. So that's all this does. It's just a clarifying bill.
Very good. And thank you for that explanation. Members, do we have any questions for Chairman Howe on this bill before we vote? Any questions? Seeing none, looks like we're ready to vote. Send House Bill 808 to Calendar and Rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on. Thank you, sir. That brings us down to item 2. That's House Bill 2 by Chairman Zachary. Do you have a motion and a second? I do. Sir, you're properly recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. This simply removes the sunset of the COVID protection bill that we passed in October of 21. No other substantive changes. That's all it does. Be glad to answer any questions.
Very good. Members, any questions for Chairman Zachary? Any questions before we vote? Seeing none, looks like we're ready to vote. Send House Bill 2 to Calendar and Rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Brings to item 3, House Bill 1307 by Chairman Kumar. Got a motion, got a second, and you're properly recognized, sir.
As all of us know, that with the passage of constitutional carry bill, a gun safety course is no longer required. And there's a remarkable statistic that I have received from the Department of Safety, and that is that in 2020, there were 54,000 gun safety courses given. In 2022, there were 11,000 given. So that number is down by 80% from 54,000 to only 11,000. We need to do something to incentivize people so that gun safety is not neglected. Gun safety is not about use of gun alone. It's also about understanding the law, the safe storage, as well as the responsibility of gun ownership, what is also been called a gun sense. And it's also a matter of public health perspective. And the best way that I could come up, or we can see, of incentivizing people to take this course is to supplement them with $30 for each course. Most courses run between $32 to $35 or $40, so they will pay $5 to $7 as what I call a copay, and so it not be a complete freebie. But they would be interested in taking a gun safety course. And this bill was passed last year, but there were some hiccups in understanding of it from the financial point of view. The last time the funding came from handgun carry permit reserve fund. We do not know this time. It's under discussion. Funding will be done, but we do not know whether it will come from that fund or another source. But I'll be happy to answer any questions. The idea is Tennesseans are not taking gun safety courses, and we should do something to incentivize them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Members, do we have any questions for Dr. Kumar? Resident Bricken, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Dr. Kumar. I certainly appreciate the bill and where it's coming from. Certainly, I'm running a similar bill that's going to totally wipe out the $100 licensing fee for all our citizens. So I'm certainly, if my bill passes and gets funded, yours will somewhat be a moot point. So we're gonna have to cooperate a little bit on this. You raised a point. Now, I have a lot of friends in the firearms safety course business, and most of their prices are in the 175 to 125 range. So, I mean, $30 is a nice effort, but it's certainly it's not probably going to cover most of the courses out there.
Dr. Kumar, you recognize, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and thank you for your support. I will support your efforts also, I think. And I have not polled the gun safety schools, but the Department of Safety tells me that the average fee charge is $32. That's what they tell me. And it may not be completely true. We will find out, but that comes from the Department of Safety. I personally paid about $40 when I took it.
Resident Bricken, any follow-up?
Just a comment, and again, I'd just be careful sometimes what you hear out of the Department of Safety. That's all I'm going to say.
Very good. Members, Dr. Kumar, any follow-up?
No, at this time, I believe their figures.
Okay. And there may be situations, I think, where these bills coexist in certain scenarios. So, members, any other comments, questions for Dr. Kumar before we vote? Representative Grills, Chairman Grills?
Yes, sir. Chairman Kumar, did you say that the dollars will be coming from which pot of money?
We are not certain yet. That decision will be made in the first week of April, FNA tells me.
Very good. Chairman Grills?
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Members? Anybody else have any questions or comments for sponsor before we vote? Seeing none, looks like we're ready to vote. Send House Bill 1307 to Finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on. Let the clerk
Thank
know it's
you.
going to be recorded as a no.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
You're welcome. That brings us to item 4, House Bill 339 by Representative Raper. Sir, you've got a motion and a second on the bill, and you're properly recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for committee for the motion and the second. With the language change, this bill broadens in retirement who can solemnize a marriage. Currently, retired county commissioners, retired mayors, retired state judges, former county clerks, and others can solemnize a marriage in retirement. In TCA, the law does not allow retired county or local municipality judges to solemnize a marriage. And this bill would correct that fact and allow all the retired judges to solemnize a marriage. At this time, Mr. Chair, I'll open up the floor for questions. Anyone, it's your permission.
Very good. Thank you for that explanation. First on the list, I have Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, is this your first bill?
No, sir.
You
It's the
sure?
first one in this committee.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to roll to the hill.
Any objection? Seeing none, roll the hill. Brings us to item 5. Item 5, House Bill 418 by Representative Stevens. You got a motion and a second. You're properly recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill was brought by the Administrative Office of the Courts. It's a straight repeal bill that repeals TCA 17-2-121. This law conflicts with the AOC's procedure for having substitute judges in cases, and it's no longer needed. And it allows for current law allows for parties to hire a former or retired judge to come in and hear a case for them. And that just has not been used that they know of. So this just repeals that section of the code.
Very good explanation. Let's see if it's good enough. Leader Lamberth, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for newer members of this particular body, do we not normally, as a protocol, have them go to the podium to present their bill? And if not, could we ask that the member go to the podium and properly present it?
I think as a member of this committee, you can make that request, and I'd be able.
Mr. Chairman, to consider this bill, I actually think that would be appropriate. It's more formal, and I think you just in general, a better procedure.
Okay.
And then I have some questions,
Looks
Mr.
like
Chairman.
Representative Stevens is going to oblige you with that request out of professional courtesy and respect to this body, and we do appreciate that. Very good. And
Chairman.
Okay. Representative, excuse me, Little Lambert, do you have any follow-up?
I do actually. And so to the member, and then I know that one of the more senior members from Shelby County, not in age, but in legislative service, will have a question in a moment. But is this your first bill
This is my first bill in this committee.
in this committee? All right, Mr. Chairman, if you can come back to me after my esteemed colleague from Shelby County.
Very good. And next, let's have Representative Parkinson, sir. You recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I had to take my glasses off for that because I'm a bit appalled that he sat there and tried to present that bill. And Mr. Chair, and Leader Lambert, I want to thank you for making sure that we're in the right posture to hear his bill. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Representative Bricken, you recognize, sir.
I'm going to probably get my mentoring license removed. Representative Stevens certainly was assigned and very enjoyably, I'm his mentor. And he asked me when he sat down, should I present this bill from the seat or from the podium? And I advised him very poorly. So I take partial credit for his mistake. So.
Very good. Leader Lambert, you recognize, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't know he was his mentor, but as an esteemed member of this body and as his mentor, would it be appropriate for Representative Bricken to actually join Representative Stevens at the podium then? I mean, I think that would be appropriate, right?
I would just leave that to the senior member, or well, not to you, new Leader Lambert, but if he would like to oblige your request, I'm certainly not going to take a vote on that.
Mr. Chairman, he doesn't look like he wants to, but with that, I make a motion to roll this bill to the Hill.
Any objection? Seeing none, to the Hill. All right, that brings us to item 6. Now we're moving along here. Item 6, House Bill 65 by Representative McCalman. You got a motion and a second, sir? If you would, just take the podium, make sure your red light's on, and just you're probably recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee members. House Bill 65, for all intents and purposes, moves our child support reporting, window from 3 years to 4 years to fall in line with the federal government.
Okay.
That was quick.
Was the question called? I do have, if we just withdraw that for one moment. If anyone has any questions, we do have Miss Mary Prokos here to take any questions. Want to recognize her. We always appreciate people who come in to testify in front of this committee and take the time to move our good policies forward. So, all right. Any questions? All right, good deal. Representative Parkinson, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there a reason why we're moving from 3 to 4 years?
It falls in line with the federal government, and consequently, it also is a savings to the taxpayers of Tennessee.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Representative Todd, Chairman Todd, you recognize. Then Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had asked previously for the department to get me some information later, and I know they haven't had time to do this because it was just less than an hour ago. But the concern I had about this is with the extreme inflation that we've been experiencing over the last 2.5, 3 years. I've just had a concern of moving this assessment to a 4-year period that we may, if there's no other mechanism involved in their formulation or their rules that allows them to do periodic adjustments during that 4 years, that we could have kids that may have $100 a month allotted to their care, and that $100 won't buy but $70 or $75 worth of stuff. And that's been my concern is just looking at it from that standpoint is that we're stretching out the period of time that we're doing this assessment. I hope there's some mechanism in between where we could do a cost of living or an inflation adjustment. So that's been the only caveat I've had here, and I know they'll be working on that. Thank you.
Good.
If Ms. Mary would like to respond to that, I'm happy to.
I think that was
defer.
more of a statement and maybe just a general. I don't know if you had a specific question there, Chairman Todd. Did you have a question for our witness? I didn't. Leader Lambert, you recognize it.
Chairman, actually, the judges that are handling these cases can actually do that and take that into account at any time they want to. We're just talking about the guidelines here. So I don't know if that goes to the chairman's question, but hopefully it would satisfy that. I mean, the judge can take each case and the circumstances of that case into account. This is literally just the guidelines.
Very, very good. And previously, someone had called the question. Do they want to renew that? Question's been called on the bill. Any objection? Seeing no objection, ready to vote to send House Bill 65 to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves forward.
Thank you, Chair and committee.
Thank you, sir. And that brings us to item 7. But before we bring that up, members, typically when we start committee, I give the members it's historical pleasure of recognizing anyone that may be here. Is any members have anybody I'd like to recognize? And Representative Eldridge, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have someone with me here from Morristown, Mike Fishman from our Citizens Tribune. I'm glad to have Mike here with us today.
Leader. Thank you for being here, sir. Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I want to recognize a good friend of mine. I got to know him several months ago, and he's been kind of wandering the halls a little bit, but Brock Martin's with us today. And if y'all can make him feel welcome, we really appreciate him joining us.
I'm lost.
And I would also typically make announcement with regards to bills that have been rolled. And item 13, House Bill 1355, that's a bill I've sponsored. I'm going to ask that the committee roll that for 2 weeks. So House Bill 1355 rolled for 2 weeks without objection. Representative Parkinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have our wonderful Metro Nashville School Board member here also, and niece to Leader Love, Christian Bugs.
Oh.
Make her feel welcome, please.
Very good. Members, anyone else? In recognitions or announcements? All right, that brings us to item 7, back on the calendar. Item 7, House Bill 62. Representative Martin. You got a motion in a second. I see an amendment that's traveling with this 003698. Would you like to adopt that amendment as well?
Yes, sir, I would.
Got a motion and a second. Members, we want to get this in the procedural posture to move forward and adopt this amendment. Seeing no objection, we're voting on House Amendment 003698 to add to House Bill 62. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Now we're back on House Bill 62 as amended, and you're properly before the committee.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. I appreciate this opportunity. This is House Bill 62, which is a Department of Children's Services administrative bill. What this legislation would do would improve compensation structure for teachers within the DCS at youth development centers. The change would allow teachers to be eligible for pay per performance, state employee bonuses, as well as longevity pay. This is a similar change that we voted on last year, or the legislature voted on last year for Department of Corrections teachers. This would just allow us to remain competitive and retaining great teachers in these environments. I will take any questions, and if you have some directly, we do have DCS with us to answer those as well.
Very good. Thank you for that explanation. Members, do we have any additional questions or comments for Representative Martin? Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Mr. Chairman, it's the all freshman squad today. So it seems like we have a lot of them coming through. So my question is this your first bill?
This is my first bill in civil full. Yes, sir.
Are there other committees that you like better than civil?
It's probably my favorite one right now. Absolutely.
Right now. Mr. Chairman, I mean, that's a pretty good answer, but you do with him as you wish, but.
I think we're moving forward pretty good right now, Leader Lambert. Let's just stick to it. Members have any questions for Representative Martin? Seeing none, we're ready to vote to send House Bill 62 as amended to Finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bills moves forward.
Thank you, committee. And
Representative Grills, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take item 4 out of order, if it'd be okay. It's been rolled to the hill.
Members,
Representative Raper.
any objection? Got a motion? Got a second? Taking that out of order. Okay, let's do that. Representative Raper, you're recognized. Item 4, back on the bill. You were properly recognized in front of the committee while you were up here, so I think you're in a good posture to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to redo my request and ask that you consider that all judges in retirement can solemnize a marriage.
Okay, members, any questions, comments? Questions been called on the bill. Seeing any objection? Seeing none, let's be ready to vote to send House Bill 339 to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Thank you. That brings us back to item 8. That's a House Joint Resolution 131 by Representative Garrett. You're properly motioned and seconded, sir. Properly before the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is my House Joint Resolution 131, and what it does is it creates public policy of the state of Tennessee as it relates to the Second Amendment and how the Second Amendment may be applied in a situation where the full faith and credit clause of the Constitution comes into play with an entity that resides outside the state of Tennessee. As you all know, under the full faith and credit clause of the Constitution, we have to honor other states' laws if those laws happen to come in play in a court of law in Tennessee. Unless there is public policy in this state that goes against that policy in another state, then you do not have to abide by the full faith and credit clause of the Constitution. This establishes here that under our Second Amendment, obviously, as you all know, this is a hotly contested portion of our politics today. Other states interpret what the Second Amendment means, some more strict, some less strict, like the state of Tennessee, where we believe that you can carry arms, you can have any kind of handgun firearms, and the government cannot abridge those rights under the Second Amendment, but there's other states that don't hold those same values as true. So this resolution establishes public policy in the state of Tennessee that if there is a situation where a law from another state could apply here, we do not have to go by the full faith and credit clause of the Constitution because that's against the public policy of the state of Tennessee, and that's what this resolution accomplishes. So with that, I'll be happy to take questions. Otherwise, I renew my motion.
Very good. Members, any questions or comments on this bill? Questions been called? Any objection? Seeing none, with that, we're going to be voting to send House Joint Resolution 131 to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you, sir. Brings to item 9. That's House Bill 91 by Chairman Russell. You got a motion and a second, and I see an amendment coded 003760. Got a motion and a second on the amendment. We want to go ahead and put that amendment on. Would you like to put that amendment on, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it rewrites the bill.
Okay, members, any objection to voting on this amendment? Seeing none, we're going to be voting to adopt House Amendment 3760 to House Bill 91. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Now we're back on the bill as amended, and you're properly recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 91 allows the department to disclose information about a case to the public if all parties involved in the case, including the child, are deceased and all identifying personal information of the parties are redacted. This came about after a murder-suicide event where DCS took some heat for something they didn't do and just allows them to basically release the information to the public and make it more transparent.
Thank you for that explanation. Members, questions, comments for Chairman Russell before we vote? Seeing none, any objection to vote? Seeing none, looks like we'll be voting to send House Bill 91 as amended to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Brings to item 10, House Bill 39 by Representative Bozo. Got a motion and a second. Sir, you're properly recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask unanimous consent of the committee that I be permitted to present this bill from a seated position.
We do have objection, sir. At your leisure, you may present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
This is a bill that seeks to clarify the costs recoverable to a successful litigant on appeal. It's actually a bill that originated with our state Supreme Court in a decision filed last year in the Milan Express versus Navistar case, which was issued on March 1 of 2020. Currently, Rule 40C of our Rules of Appellate Procedure provides that the cost for the premium of a bond that's posted on appeal are recoverable as costs. In the Milan Express case, the successful applicant for costs requested that the clerk award not just the premiums for the bond that was issued to stay execution pending appeal, but also that the clerk award costs that were incurred to provide security for the bond, which in that case was a letter of credit that cost approximately $1.5 million. The underlying facts of the case are somewhat interesting. It arose out of a case. Excuse me?
Literally, I'm to recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was a really good recitation of what this bill does by this particular freshman. And Mr. Chairman, I could not contain myself to interject at this point with one small question. May I, Mr. Chairman?
You're recognized, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Is this your first bill?
It is not.
It is not your, is it your first bill in this committee?
It might be.
Mr. Chairman, that's a relatively lawyerly evasive question. And with that, I would make a motion to move, to roll this bill to the hill of today's calendar.
Members, any objection? Seeing none, to the hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That brings us to item 11, House Bill 338 by Representative Stevens. Got a motion? Second? You're properly recognized, sir, from the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 338 simply allows a administrator or an executor of an estate to distribute copies of a will or letters of administration by email or personal delivery instead of the old-fashioned U.S. mail.
Very good. Members, do we have any questions for Representative Stevens on that? Any questions before we vote? Seeing none. Looks like we're ready to vote. Send House Bill 338 to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Stay right there. Bill passes. And we're going to go back, members, without objection to item 5. That's House Bill 418 by Representative Stevens. You've got a motion second. I believe you were already properly recognized for the committee, but you certainly are now. And, excuse me? And you'd explained it already. Questions been called on the bill. Members, do we have any questions for Representative Stevens before we vote? Seeing none. Looks like we're ready to vote. It's in House Bill 418 to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you. That brings us to item 12, House Bill 249 by Leader Lamberth and myself.
Second.
Second. And you're probably recognized, sir.
As a good leader, you're going to go with
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There should be an amendment, I believe, that is traveling with this. That is your amendment, coded 4042.
Yeah, and that's correct. And what that amendment does is just and I just need to be clear. I'm not the sponsor of the bill, Leader Lamberth, but I do have the amendment that I signed on to the bill. So I think it's proper to present that as chairman as the further amendment, allow the members to vote for. Without any objection?
No objection.
All right, without objection. Members, what Amendment 4042 does, Leader Lamberth had brought a bill that said basically once you've obtained a judgment on a property as a landlord in a detainer case, that after a 10-day period, that the writ of possession would automatically issue after 2 days because there's a 10-day appeal period in there. What this amendment would do is let the courts go ahead and, by operation of law, by judgment, if that 10-day appeal period were to expire and no one has appealed it, that writ of possession for the property would automatically exist by operation of law. That way, no one would have to come back to court, take their time to get something that should have already happened by operation of law. So that's what that amendment does. So I just ask for approval on that. Question on amendment. Any objections? Seeing none, we're going to adopt House Amendment 4042 to House Bill 249. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Now back on House Bill 249 as amended. You recognize, Leader Lamberth.
Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for questions, but thank you for making what I hope was a decent bill, a really, really great bill. And this is what the committee process is all about. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for just changing the bill in the way that strengthens it.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Leader Lamberth before we vote? Representative Garrett, you recognize, sir.
I've just got one question while I do some landlord and tenant work, but I want to make sure we're all aware of what a writ of possession does.
Thank you.
So, Leader Lamberth, could you explain just what a writ of possession is?
Once you earn a judgment from the court, say if someone is in violation of their lease, then once you actually get a judgment, that doesn't gain you access back to your property. That's what that writ does. And so you need that in order to be able to have that served on an individual in those unfortunate circumstances when someone may have to be set out. And so those are not regular. For the most part, when someone loses a case in court, they're going to go ahead and start the process of moving out. But by just in the normal course of life, sometimes you're going to have a renter that just refuses to leave. And so that is what that writ does legally.
Very good. Members, any additional questions? All right. Representative Beck, you recognize, sir.
Thank you. And I will have to add that it keeps the cost that of attorney's fees down because we don't have to go back to court to get the writ. And so if when somebody finally wants to pay their judgment, the judgment will be a little bit less.
Very good point, sir. Members, anyone else? All right, seeing none, looks like we're ready to vote to send House Bill 249 as amended to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on. And that brings us back to, we have met the hill of our calendar. That brings us back to item 10. That's House Bill 39 by Representative Bolso. You're properly recognized once again, sir. And the question has been called. Do we have any objection to that? All right, seeing none, looks like we're ready to vote to send House Bill 39 to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Bill moves on. And that looks like, members, that completes our regular calendar. And I had a calendar that was labeled consent at the top there. I know that's ultimately up to Chairman Zachary of where the consent items go, but recognizing that that's labeled that, I see item 1, House Bill 50 by Leader Lambert. Sir, you're recognized.
Second.
Got a motion and a second?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the codification bill. I'm hopeful that all of you have reviewed this page by page, but this codifies all of the bills and acts that passed the legislature last year.
Very good. Question's been called. Any objection? Seeing none, looks like we're ready to vote to send House Bill 50 to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Brings us to the second and last item on this calendar, House Resolution 7 by Representative Bolso. You're probably recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
This House Resolution number 7 is the rules package from the Advisory Commission on the Supreme Court's Advisory Commission on the Rules of Practice and Procedure. The proposed rule has been adopted by the Advisory Commission. It's been approved by the Supreme Court and been made an order of the Supreme Court. This actually is a purely technical amendment dealing with Rule 5.02. We would urge its passage by the full committee.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, and I realize it's a freshman member and a very talented and well-educated freshman member, and in fact, chairs the Rules Commission. So if you're wondering where this particular rules package came from, the gentleman at the podium. But Mr. Chairman, is it not customary when you're a member of the committee that it is perfectly acceptable if a member presents from their actual desk as a member of the committee?
Yeah, Mr. Leader, I agree. I mean, after your first bill, I mean, I think it's common knowledge that you stay in your seat.
I think so.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman, if we would allow the member and even encourage him to return to his seat for the rest of the presentation, I think that would be best, right?
Yes, Leader, I would. Any objections, committee, to Representative Bolso return to his seat? Seeing none. Sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
As I was saying, Mr.
Thank you for that.
Chairman.
Question's been called
excuse
on
me.
the bill. So without seeing any objection, are we ready to vote to send House Resolution 7 to calendar and rules? Looks like we are. Members ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Ayes have it. And members, do we have anything else before we adjourn committee today? All right, motion to adjourn. Seeing no objection, we're adjourned next week.